Okay, so we have the intro apparently.
Everything that lives is designed
So some waiting time.
We are perpetually trapped.
Yep, the first probably, what's about 3.5 minutes are a little slow. You just have this sort of intro cinematic and some really basic shmup sections.
Yeah, it starts out with 1.5 minutes of doing nothing.
We'll ever have the chance to kill him.
So,
So
sort
we
of
have some syncing here, I guess, and yes, now we have the races synced up.
looks good. So when you're in this sort of shmup section, you have your pod fire, you have a light attack, a heavy attack, and a dodge. It's pretty close to your like standard like 3D ground combat that you'll see about 5 minutes in.
Yes. Also, later on we get a pod program, which is just a kind of special attack.
Yeah,
We will
it's
see
kind
that.
of like your ranged,
Yes,
range special.
Yes, it's a strong range attack, and we will see that used a lot later in the run.
So right away you'll see both of them switching weapon sets. Weapon set 2 is what they're going to be using for almost the entirety of Prologue here.
Yes. That is because the weapon set 2 has the small sword in the heavy weapon slot. And that setup is pretty broken in terms of movement and combat. So that's the setup we want to use for the entirety of the run.
Yeah, short sword is extremely broken for combat and movement. It's pretty insane actually that that's even the one weapon that they give you to begin the game after Prologue. So thanks, devs.
So you can also see both of the runners taking some intentional hits by the big lasers and then healing the damage. They do that to waste all their large and medium recovery items. We don't really need those recovery items in the prologue, so we waste them because that reduces menu time later on. Because if we want to use the buff items that we do want to use later on, we have less items we have to crawl over in the menu to reach those. Not a very big time save, but it's free to to take those lasers and waste the recovery, so why not do it?
Yep, you have plenty of time to take damage, and you lose absolutely no time by doing so. So
yes, you lose no time taking damage from the laser, and thanks to the quick menu, also no time by using the recovery items. Sadly, that quick menu does not include the buff items.
that would be amazing if it did.
Yeah, that would make everything so much more amazing.
Because you sort of have your like quick utility item menu, and then you have an actual. I don't know. You can use items in like 3 different menus. It's kind of weird actually.
Yeah, like there's the very quick menu, then there's the quick menu, the shortcut menu, and the main menu. Let's say it that way.
Exactly.
So,
So what you'll see them doing here is using a lot of like heavy attacks just to sort of hit these flyers as soon as they come on screen, as well as light attacks to clear out the more like populated waves.
yes. So basically, we have the flight unit has 2 configurations. One is the stealth mode, that's the plane kind of thing, and the other one.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And in the stealth mode, the heavy attack is preferred, and in the other one, the light attack. So we're on the ground now, playing as A2, 2B.
What? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. That's it. It just confused all the names again.
Okay. What you're seeing here is just our basic combat from the game, which is you do a dash and then a heavy attack while you're still dashing, and that 2B will throw out that short sword, and it just spins and just repeatedly does damage. Probably like it's like 4 or 5 times the amount of damage that you would expect. We refer to it as this damage glitch or damage exploit. It just does way more damage than all of
It's
the other
5
attacks in the
times
game.
the damage.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it. It's the attack where 2B throws out the sword spinning in front of her. And usually it does a ton of hits, but all of them do way less damage than your weapon usually does. But if you execute it the correct way, you still get the spinning sword, but it does the full weapon damage, which is 5 times as high.
Alright, so we're coming up on Crane's script here, and you'll see Mytherium just doing some like aerial movement. If you do a heavy when you sort of fall off a ledge, that'll give you a bit more vertical height, and then he does a lift, which is you jump and then you press heavy right after, and that's probably the biggest source of like vertical movement for gaining height as quickly as possible.
Yes. So that's what we said earlier. This game has a lot of movement options, and yeah, a lot of the skips and stuff in this game is just exploiting the given movement options to the limits, to the very limits of what's possible, and by that we can do high jumps, long jumps, and a bunch of other cool stuff.
So coming up here on Bridge Skip, this is the hardest trick in Prologue for sure.
It's even one of the hardest tricks in the entire game.
It's very rough. Mytherium has been playing this game for a while, and it still gave him a little bit of trouble. So it's definitely one thing that a lot of newer runners struggle with.
Yeah,
but he gets it finally.
Yeah, I think that was 3rd or 4th try. Let's see how Littz is doing with that.
Looks like he got a good lift.
Yeah.
Okay. The most important thing I think with Bridge Skip is you want to delay your lift as much as possible.
Yes.
So the timing's pretty tight.
Sorry, ma'am. And another thing, stop calling me.
Also, because I see it in chat, this is normal difficulty. Yes, Bridge Skip is a lot of inputs, and most of them, if not all of them, have very precise timing at what you need to press them at. If you're too slow, you don't get the combo moves that you need for the height, and if you're too fast and don't delay your inputs enough, then you don't get the height that you need to get on top of the bridge.
And if you saw that laser on a Mytherium screen, that's the pod program that we mentioned earlier. There are different ones, like there are a bunch of them that are in the game, but the only one that you're going to see here is laser.
Yes, it's the one that the game gives us from the start, and we don't have time to pick any other ones up. What's your favorite pod program?
Honestly, it's been so long since I've played the game in a non-speedrun setting that I'd probably just have to say the laser, honestly.
Wire is amazing, but sadly it takes way too long to be useful in any speedrun. Aside from 98%. But Wire is fast. Wire is has probably the fastest movement, but sadly you need an enemy.
Right, the Wire. Yeah, I think
Wire is amazing.
I forgot about that one, but yeah. I think you're right.
It's easy to forget about. It is easy to forget about that one, but
it's not like command to get a location wrong.
Don't you get that one kind of late in the game, or at least later compared to the other ones?
It's a side quest in B route.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's why.
It's Amnesia. where you get wire.
Anyway, coming up to this sort of big construction boss here.
I'll just take him out.
These attacks that Mytherium is getting right now, these don't matter at all. You're going to see him, if you hold the pod program button, everything around 2B will slow down. So you can use that to sort of just get a bunch of damage on angles here while he's attacking you, and it doesn't matter if you use the slowdown at all. This is all timed. You have to wait.
Yes, so the boss's angles, the first phase that Mytherium is on right now, is entirely timed. You have to wait for a cutscene, and there's no way to speed that up. So
yeah, it's definitely best just to sort of just get some damage on him, because you do have to sort of hit a threshold just to make sure that you can kill him at the very end in only 3 hits. So we'll see what attack Mytherium gets here. As long as he doesn't get punches, it's good. Looks like he got missiles. That's fine.
Missiles actually is pretty decent. So at the start of the second phase, as long as you hit the health threshold, the second phase is basically always the same. You have one random attack from angles, and then the 2 of these attacks from below. And this one random attack, if it is a move that we call punches, it can lose you 20 seconds just to RNG, and there is no way you can influence that. So
yep, also Mytherium on the left pipe, which is my favorite pipe. Do you prefer left or right?
I don't know, I always go left.
Nice.
But I think that's probably because the first time I saw it was in Half's GDQ run, and he went left pipe. So.
No, Littz gets punches.
Oh yeah, that's the move. That's horrible, and it's just slow. It doesn't have any benefit.
I believe it loses about 23 seconds.
It's 20 seconds. Yes.
So
how much exactly depends on the other move.
Pretty bad luck.
Like, he has a bunch of moves that he can do, and all of them are about the same length, except for punches, which is 20 seconds slower.
So you just saw Mytherium do the first instance of a double lift. If you do a lift while you're going up a slope, you sort of touch the ground again after you leave it, and that sort of gives you the ability to do a second lift. So yes. That'll be used in quite a few places.
So, and Mytherium is in the flight unit again on the last phase of angles. In this one, he once again has to wait for a dialogue. We will have that pretty often in this run. And additionally to having to wait for the dialogue, we also have a small RNG factor that can lose up to 11 seconds, I think, at the end of the dialogue, depending on where in his attack pattern angles is at that point.
Yeah, it's highly variable. The dialogue line that you have to wait for the scripted punch is when 2B says, "I told you to shut up," and he can do all sorts of attack patterns. So
basically, once that dialogue finishes, the first attack angles starts after that is one that progresses the fight. And I, in my race yesterday, actually had a really horrible RNG where, like, less than a second before that, or probably while that dialogue, 2B said that dialogue, the animation for Engel's previous attack ran out, so he started another normal attack that I had to wait through before progressing at. If you have that kind of horrible RNG, that loses about 11 seconds, depending on what attack you get.
All right, so we see Mytherium finishing off angles. Looks like
Yes.
about a. Okay, is he? He's running. Okay, so we have real-time timers. Okay, that's fine
So apparently that's real-time timers.
as long as they're
So
both for
about
same
15
players.
minutes.
So this section coming up is just a bunch of menuing. 9S comes in and lets you set up your settings. You got your brightness setting, your voice setting, and then you turn self-destruct on.
Yes.
And this menuing can be a little wonky sometimes. It's very easy to make some mistakes here.
Yes. The thing with self-destruct is the game basically forces you to enable it because of your rules and stuff, but still it isn't enabled in the prologue. So
Yeah.
this game tries to make very much sense, but once you think about it, it doesn't.
Not much at all. Self-destruct though would be very useful in prologue because it would make bridge skip a lot easier.
It would make bridge skip basically free.
So you're saying
Because
Littz.
you can use self-destruct to get an additional heavy attack in the air, which gives you more height and yeah.
So you just saw Mytherium sort of do a dashing heavy attack with bare fist, and that's just to get more distance when running into that trigger. You'll hit this trigger point and then you'll be forced to walk very slowly while you're listening to the dialogue. So you'll see that a lot where people will do like a double jump, or they'll do sort of a dash attack with a weapon in order to just get farther in before they start this like slow walking animation.
Too bad they can't mass produce these things yet.
And then we're coming up here to the beginning of the sort of second shmup section. It's pretty short. It's only like a couple minutes. But the big thing is you don't have any recovery items. So it actually is possible to die here. It's very easy to die here if you sort of make a big mistake.
Yes, so and you, of course, you really don't want to die, because if you die, you have to do the entire shmup section over again.
And on that first wave there, Mytherium used the pod program, which in the shmup form, in this sort of plane mode, is just a bunch of missiles that just shoot forward in like a cone shape. It's pretty useful. And he'll use it again on this first, what we call fidget spinner, this 4 prongs flying robot.
Bunker to 2B, come in. I've set a landing point for your flight units. You'll be touching down quite a ways from the resistance camp, unfortunately. Sorry for the trouble, but we can't risk the enemy discovering their position. Understood. Good luck down there.
So Mytherium reaches the ground about the same time that Littz starts the shmup section. So yeah, Mytherium is good amount ahead, but remember a lot of that is due to RNG. So
yeah, you just saw Mytherium do a big plunge off that building. That's just a dash and then a heavy attack when you're in the air.
Yes. Plunging has one of the fastest movements, but since it's a downward movement, you only can do it if you have traveled down from a higher up location.
That's very, very useful, though. We'll see that a lot. And we'll see Mytherium kind of do what I was talking about, where you sort of do like a dashing attack into a like cutscene trigger or something, just to skip that slow walking animation.
Yes, that slow walking animations, if you do get it, it loses 2 seconds.
So we see Mytherium just accepting 2 quests. We have a weapon trader quest and an item trader quest, and doesn't really accomplish very much. It does let you upgrade your short sword, which is the virtuous contract. It lets you upgrade that to level 2, which does some more damage, and probably more importantly, it gives you access to this sort of different kind of movement. You see right now Mytherium is doing dash punches. Once he upgrades the sword, he will be able to do what we call dash swings, where he just does a dashing heavy attack instead of a dashing light attack with the bare fists.
Yes. So these quests are the game's introduction into the side quests, and so those two are our side quests, but not really, because they also are main quests somewhat. So they are some kind of hybrid state, and that forces us to actually do them. And that's the only 2 side quests that we will see in this run.
This one right here, there are 3 quest item drops that drop from 3 of these robots, and it can be sort of annoying sometimes. Sometimes they can fall in a bush and you can't see them right away, or another robot will drop an item that isn't a quest item and you'll pick it up thinking it is, and then you'll just lose some time that way. But good job by Mytherium. That was pretty quick.
Yes, yes. So I think we're actually gonna see some interesting strats after this from Mytherium. He told us he's gonna try for some strats that's not in the usual A-ending route.
Yep, we'll see what he does here. Normally our routing is we buy a bunch of items near the desert. What we're seeing here is Mytherium doing his buys in the resistance camp instead, and you'll see the reason for that pretty soon.
Yes. So yeah, we will see if he manages to pull off what he's planning right now. It will be pretty swag and might save some time. If he fails, he's most definitely losing time, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if he can pull it off.
Yes. Me too.
Alright, so he's going to put down some bait so he can hop on this moose. And this is sort of what we used to do. This is sort of the old route, was taking an animal to desert, but he's going to try something that's pretty significantly different from the old route.
On the other side, let's just finish the side quests, or is just finishing the side quests, and we'll be going to the desert soon too.
Yeah,
so
you'll see him not take the animal.
Yes, he will probably use the normal route, and you see they are still pretty close to each other.
Yeah, depending on what happens with Mytherium here, that could change.
Yes. So if Mytherium messes up,
yeah, he's gonna lose time if he does.
That might put Littz into the lead.
But if he pulls this off, he's gonna be even further ahead. We'll see. So he's going for what we call moose clip here. Oh wow, that was fast. Okay, so by the way, that's a pretty difficult clip there.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like he clipped back in bounds, but I think that should be fine.
I don't know. I don't think so. He loses the moose here.
Oh no.
And
he
would have been able to keep the moose throughout the desert, I think. So
I'm glad we got to see the at least the barricade clip. But you can see Littz here doing sort of the normal routing where you just do your basic ground movement, and then he's going to buy his items at this trader right up here on the right.
Yes. Also, you can see Littz is only doing dashes instead of more complicated tech like dash swings. It's slower to only 2 dashes, but dash swinging and dash punches are way more difficult than just long dashes.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to get the timing down properly.
Yes. And let's also not going for the out of bounds in here.
So coming up to Stupid Rock, you're going to see Mytherium plunge against the side of this mountain. Looks like
not getting the skip.
Yeah, you basically have to wait.
If you do that plunge at the exact right moment, the game does some weird collision things and pushes you a lot forward inside into that tunnel thing. So
yeah, there's a quest. There's a quest enemy there, and you have to wait for him to burrow into the ground. And sometimes he just sits around and just takes an extra like 5 or so seconds to burrow. So I think that's what happened to Mytherium there.
Yes. Or he got the exact opposite, where the enemy burrows immediately, which makes it very hard to do the plunge in time and not being too slow. That's what I usually have, but that's because I'm stupid.
So Mytherium clipped into the building first try, and he canceled the plunge as well. When you do these plunges, you can sort of buffer a dash so that you like don't actually get that slow landing cooldown.
Like if you land after a plunge, that takes a long time because you have like this crashing into the ground animation. But you can cancel that with a buffer dash. And
right there, he just managed to go out of bounds and get a trigger needed to progress and begin this sort of Atom Pit fight combat here, whatever. It's also very important that he kills that enemy first, the one that appears in that little cutscene.
Yes, so basically from the moment you kill that enemy onwards, it's once more a timer, a dialogue timer that you need to wait for. This cannot continue, that all those robots say in the background. You have to wait for that to finish. And it starts once you kill that enemy mark with the quest marker, so you want to kill that one as soon as possible. And Littz is also having troubles with Stupid Rock because the enemy doesn't want to burrow.
Yeah, that's an incredibly frustrating, frustrating part. So really, Mytherium's just trying to kill as many stubbies as he can, get as much experience. He went for an SD at the end to get even more experience, but he got hit, which knocked him out of that animation.
Yes. So basically, we have to wait for the timer anyways, for the dialogue, so we can kill some enemies in between.
And then starting Adam here, Mytherium had a very good first, I guess, 2 phases. He managed to skip what we call sword dodge, which is just like a cutscene where Adam just staggers.
Yes. And on Litz's side, you can see he's not going for the out of bounds skip that Mytherium did. So instead, he's going through the desert housing complex normally, and that's what Mytherium skipped with all that out of bounds movement.
Mytherium just had a really good Adam fight.
Yes.
Adam is one of the more frustrating bosses in this speedrun, especially for me. And then one thing that's important with Adam actually is taunting. And taunting in this game will put the enemy into a like frenzy state where they deal 50% more damage and they take 50% more damage. So that's a really important mechanic in order to like skip that cutscene and sort of skip some phases that you would normally see.
So Mytherium now coming up to that box. And he has some problems clipping out there, but he got it.
He gets it finally.
He
He
still
didn't
does
get
the
the
out of bounds.
teleporter, so
Yes,
he's
he
not
didn't
going to be able
pick
to
up the
see.
transporter because of the animal strats that he did. But he's still doing the out of bounds movement to show off, apparently. At the end of that tunnel there is a dialogue trigger, but he skipped that.
And so, yeah, basically this movement that Mytherium's doing is just what we call dash swinging. The thing about this movement
And
here is
Mytherium just picked up a plug-in chip that Littz already picked up earlier when he shopped at that trader. But since Mytherium did the animal strats, he shopped at a different trader at the beginning, so he had to stop again and pick up resilience there.
Roger.
I also have an incoming message from the command.
And the significance of the resilience chip is that as long as you're over 80% health, enemy attacks will not stagger you, which helps out a lot.
It helps a lot, and in the speedrun we basically use it to, as soon as we get hit, we just use a recovery item to heal that damage again. So that way we usually are way out of danger, and also we are always in that zone where resilience triggers. On the other, you can see Littz actually got the self-destruct at the end of Adam Pit. That just kills a bunch more machines, gives you some extra experience and items.
Yeah, getting to level 8 before the before our fight is kind of important.
Yes. So you really want to have the experience, since this is an RPG, and like in every RPG, the higher your level, the more damage you do, and the more damage you do, the faster the fights go. So we want an as high level as we can get, but we don't have time to grind for experience because, well, it's a speedrun. We don't have time for anything.
Mytherium coming up to what we call Let's Play Skip, where he's going to clip out of bounds and do a heavy attack off of this platform, jump, do some pod spins to cross this gap, and that's going to sort of skip the... oh, right,
and
okay.
He's going for roller coaster stuff.
Yeah.
So I have not looked into that skip much yet, so do you want to explain that?
Yeah, basically, this sort of weird movement that he's doing is just to get some different triggers, and then he's going to try and... Oh, okay. You have to get the roller coaster to come in, and then as it's coming through, you need to touch the roller coaster, but then you have to sort of clip off of it. It's a very difficult trick. So you'll see him sort of just ride it around, and then he's going to have to get off and hit a few more triggers.
Yeah, so basically the thing is you on the normal playthrough you need to hit some triggers and then go onto the roller coaster, wait for the roller coaster to finish. And with this skip, as far as I understood that, the stuff that I did look here, you get onto the roller coaster, get off again by clipping out of the intended area, and then while you wait for the roller coaster to finish its trip, you get those other triggers.
So Littz had some attempts at box clip there. but ended up deciding just to push it and just take the sort of
Normal route, yes.
yeah.
So you didn't see it from any of the runners. Basically, what in the normal route you usually want to do is you want to get the out of bounds that Mytherium did at that point, and then you can save. You can enter the safe circle around this transporter and actually save, because if you don't get the out of bounds movement, you hit a dialogue trigger, and while you have a dialogue running, you cannot save. But by going around that dialogue trigger out of bounds, you can save, and then load that save and you basically skip walking through desert on the way back. Mytherium, on the other hand, now is on our next boss fight, Simone, or often called Beauvoir. And he got a nice first phase.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
You want to keep her close to the stage.
Yes. In theory, it's pretty easy. You just want to deal a ton of damage without her getting too far away. But actually doing that is pretty difficult.
If we take hacking damage, it'll affect our bodies as well.
And you
Littz
also
gets the sewer plunge.
Yes. That plunge is not easy, but it's amazing.
Yo,
Yeah,
at
it's
the end
really
of
satisfying.
Yes, that too. At the end of the Beauvoir first phase, you also saw the hacking mini game, and hopefully you won't see any more of that. Okay.
Just as you say.
I'm sorry, Mytherium, I jinxed it. So, yeah, those androids that he's destroying right now can hack you. You don't want them to hack you because you don't gain anything from it, but it costs time. So, you don't want to get hacked.
Yeah, that part can be extremely frustrating because with the top-down camera view, it's kind of sort of hard to see those shockwaves coming.
Yes. So that hacking minigame is a major thing in the B route of this game, but since this tournament is only racing A ending, we won't see any of that. And yeah, that's why from this point onward you won't see any more hacking. At least not on Mytherium's side. You will see at least one hack on Litz's side. That one is required.
What is it?
So you saw a self-destruct right at the end of the boss fight by Mytherium, and that's to do a death warp later on. He's going to go to Pascal's village, go to Resistance camp and pick up a quest, and then he needs to go back to Pascal's village. So he intentionally lowered his HP. I think he's also going to check and see if he has any small recoveries so that he can... it makes it a bit easier to clip through a box coming up. Okay, looks like he got a small recovery. You don't always get small recoveries, so you're kind of sort of forced to check while you're doing this movement. But that's going to make it possible for him to do a plunge and then hold self-destruct, and that makes it easier to sort of clip through the box. So really not much going on right now, just you just need good movement to get to Pascal's as quickly as possible.
Yes, Mytherium is now entering a village of peaceful machines. And when he left the boss fight, he spoke to a peaceful machine, that flyer, that didn't want to fight and just show him to the village. He killed him anyways. And the fun thing about that flyer is, he asks you if you want to visit the village. And you can say no or yes. But it doesn't matter which option you choose, because if you say yes, then Ninus agrees with you and you go there. But if you say no, Ninus agrees with you but tells you to go there anyways.
Yeah, it's kind of a
kind
weird
of funny.
choice, especially
Kind of
considering they give you the choice to continue fighting or go to the resistance camp after the desert, but that actually sort of does lock you in and into doing like one or the other, which is kind of
Yes.
kind of weird.
Well, but it also doesn't both of them have one thing in common. It does not change anything about the story, and
Yeah.
we do know that that is a common thing in games, that you don't, even if you are presented with a choice, most of the time it doesn't make a difference. Aside from some awesome games that actually manage to include this making a difference part, but this game does not. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, this game has a lot of other cool stuff.
So you've been seeing some sick boar bouncing on Mytherium screen.
Yeah,
That's
boar
actually
hopping.
faster than just the normal boar sprinting. So
Sprinting, and it looks way more awesome. And most of all, doing it feels amazing.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so much fun. Just one of the things that I would do, even if it was slower, I would just do it in runs. Because it feels good.
And then he's also going to use that same animal to to basically do the death warp here,
But the
which
boar
does
is
not
strong.
want to cooperate with him. There we go. The animals in this game are something else. Their spawn and spawn types are random, so like it won't always be a boar. Sometimes it's a moose. Sometimes they're in like really bad spots. Sometimes they're in like a wall. Sometimes they run away when you shoot them. Sometimes they attack you.
Yeah. Watching the timers, I think we have some kind of mess up here, because Mytherium's timers is an RT-aim timer, but I think Litz's timer is the loadless time. So in this game, we usually use, at least on PC, we use a load remover with life split that automatically removes load times from the timer. And that loadless time is the one we use on the leaderboards, since it makes the thing more fair, because load times can vary between hardware setups, so you would basically lose time without doing anything wrong just because your PC is a different one. And so to keep it more fair, we have the load remover, and that should be what's in this tournament, but apparently there was some mix-up on Mytherium's side, and we have his real time.
Yeah, the load remover also makes it possible to use English or Japanese text without any sort of real-time difference, which is
Yes.
nice. Because it's kind of hard to learn this game straight from the beginning with Japanese text.
Yes. It's pretty easy to switch once you know the route, but learning the route on Japanese is horrible. So the thing about languages in this game is, since we mash dialogue so fast, text language doesn't matter at all for the gameplay, but where it does matter is loading screens. Since you see the loading screens have this text on them, and the loading screens advance as soon as this text is fully printed, and the text gets printed by character. And since Japanese obviously has less characters, it's faster.
So you just saw Mytherium do a double lift in order to get over this sort of invisible wall by that city angles. You don't actually have to fight that one. You can just skip it. The sort of fast strat is you just come straight up and you do just a double jump dash, and you're able to sort of clip out of the wall or the ceiling there. But that double lift backup is still pretty quick. And coming up here, he's going to buff up and use both of his pod programs. When Angles is sort of doing that laser, his hitbox is sort of like really thrust forward, and it's easy to hit him with like every single part of the pod program, which normally comes out in like sort of a circle around you.
Yes. So Littz at the moment is on the way doing the death warp.
Yeah, we'll see if he finds a boar. No, it looks like a moose.
Looks like a moose, unless a boar comes out of the pillar.
Yeah, that's always possible.
That's always possible. And the moose just laid down,
Oh.
but there was a bar. There actually was a boar behind the pillar.
We can end this long and arduous
So we get to see
war
some more
once
sick
and for
boar
all.
bouncing.
Seems to be underground.
Yes.
Like
On the other screen, Mytherium now
We'll see once we
approaching
get there.
the negotiations fight.
If we're lucky.
We will see
You're not much for
the
plans, are you, 2B?
Adam, the humanoid machine from the desert again, together with his brother that we in this run did not see. We should have seen him, but we skipped the cutscene, so we didn't see him.
What is this place?
I don't know.
And
Like it in the database.
yeah, they basically Adam likes to talk, and he's gonna talk a lot, and we will have to wait for
Yeah.
him to finish talking.
2B.
Luckily, we get to skip some of that later on, but for now, we just have to sit here and listen to him talk. So, buffing here is a waste of time, doing any sort of menuing.
Wiped out.
You just want to deplete all of Eve's HP, and that'll give you a level, and then you basically just, well, I don't want to say wait, because afterwards he's going to try and do some more stuff, but we'll see.
You'd probably be surprised at how quickly it happened.
You destroyed your own creators?
Oh, there's no need to fret.
And Mytherium doing some really cool slow-mo combat.
Almost like
Yeah, just some slow-mo, just so he doesn't accidentally get hit by Eve. I know Mytherium runs very hard, so I think that's probably just like the very hard strat, just to make sure that you don't get hit at all. Since in that difficulty, one hit is death. You'll see here he evaded one of Eve's attacks in order to counterattack, which gives him some height, and then he does a lift, and then just some more
Yeah.
Basically,
it's a super high jump using a counterattack, and that makes him able to jump over the invisible wall. And he's outside in the tunnel again. That does not save any time at all, since we still have to wait for the dialogue trigger, and after the dialogue trigger we have a cutscene that sets you at a specific position, but he can pick up some extra experience, and in theory, if you want, you can also pick up some items that you need to upgrade your weapon, but I think Mytherium
just
did
opting to
not
go
opt
for
to
the
do that.
experience.
So,
Yeah, it
no
is possible.
from
It is-
Mytherium.
It is possible to upgrade the Virtuous Contract again, but you need a bunch of items, and there's one set of items. I think you need it's 4 dented plates, and it's
And 3
completely
severed
luck-based.
cables. And you get
What a pain.
none of them normally, and so you have to rely on random drops for
We
all
now have
7
an
of them.
operational transporter in the city ruins. We're attempting
And
to deploy them at other points as well.
yeah, so you really need to get lucky with that.
Care to fill me in?
We do have a glitch in this game, because this game is actually awesome, because if you enter a cutscene and that might teleport you somewhere because of story reasons, and which would make you lose all the items that dropped from enemies, the game is nice, and whenever a cutscene starts, it picks up all the items on the ground for you.
And then, strangely enough, you also get twice the amount.
For some reason, it also picks them up twice. That's the reason why you never see any of the runners pick up any items, because if they do pick them up, except for some special cases, if they do pick them up themselves, they lose one of them. Because if they don't pick them up, a cutscene will pick them up, and then they get the item twice.
I
It's
just
weird.
saw Mytherium do a partner dialogue skip. He stops just right before the dialogue trigger, talks to 9S, and then while that text is open, he walks into the trigger, and that will cancel both dialogues, so you don't have to wait as long.
Yes.
Not a huge time save, but it is helpful.
Also, the dialogue at the end is that you do skip there. It's just annoying because you stand in front of the transporter waiting. So yeah.
Mytherium is going to start the forest section, so he's going to sell his small buffs. He's going to sell the machine cores he got from the bosses, and he's going to sell some of these like HUD chips that he doesn't need, and he's just going to buy bunch of medium recoveries, a bunch of large melee, and large range buffs. And he's also going to equip his plugin chips right now. He's going to equip resilience if he can get to the right one, and then he's going to check. Looks like he got 2 crit plus ones, so he has about I think it's 4% crit chance now. And now he's going for Mom Skip. There's sort of a quest cutscene here. But doing some double lift and some pod spins, he's able to get over that and skip waiting for that cutscene to end.
9S works just fine.
Yeah, Mytherium did not sell the minimap. I'm not sure if that's what he normally does, or if you knew what chips he had.
You should work on keeping your opinions in check. You're hard and alive.
Yeah, minimap can be helpful for some skip lineups.
This must be the commercial structure Pascal was talking about.
So Littz now is also at negotiations, so it's a pretty boring fight. I'd say the most boring boss fight in the entire run, even more boring than Grun.
You just saw another instance of that partner dialogue skip there on Mytherium's screen.
You're getting distracted.
Well, what do you expect? Check this guy. He's just running away. Looks like the forest is.
Yeah, Eve kind of is a sponge. He has a ton of HP. It's actually a little bit ridiculous. So entering the forest here on Mytherium's screen, he's just going to make his way through the forest. He's not going to do any sort of combat. There's no reason to fight anything in here. He's just trying to get to A2 as fast as possible, because that's the next thing that's required to progress.
What is with these guys?
Don't listen to what they're saying, 2B.
So you'll see a big sort of double jump plunge coming up here.
Yes, just some optimal movement there.
Gonna see a stutter right here. Oh, I guess he doesn't get sort of a game freeze there. That's interesting.
I don't. Yeah, this game's sometimes weird. So.
Yeah, people get like freezes in different parts. It's really strange.
Yes.
Mytherium doing Rainbow Road here, which is just barely made it. That was some interesting movement. I haven't seen it done quite that way, I don't think.
Yeah, I also don't think he intended to do it that way.
But he just managed to salvage it. Nice.
It looks like some kind of backup strat.
Well, it's fine. He got it first try. I mean, he's got a significant lead. It's fine if he has to sort of salvage it and lose only like a second or so. You'll see him going over to the right there. Just you're required to hit a trigger there before you can fight A2.
So basically, there's this huge castle with it's like a labyrinth, and you have to go through it. And we skip all of it, and we skip too much of it. That's why we have to go back there a little bit.
2B. That's an android.
And that also, you can also kill the machines that are there, so it's a little bit easier to hit it again on your way out. Because if the other machines get too close, it'll be blocked off.
2B.
So the A2 fight can be difficult. She does do a lot of damage when she's taunted. What you're seeing Mytherium do is just what we call slow-mo double damage glitch, where he does slow-mo, and both of his weapon sets are the same, so he's just going to throw out a damage glitch, swap weapons, throw it out again,
Yeah.
and he has to cancel the slow-mo and start a new one each time. So it's a
extremely
very,
difficult to execute. So that's pretty
Absolutely.
amazing how he pulls that off.
and then he's just sort of doing a plunge over an invisible wall there to get back to the teleporter. Normally you're supposed to jump off the castle and follow A2, but we're not going to do that.
That's a long dialogue, and we don't like dialogues.
Yeah, we already, I think, have our sort of snooze fest in Gruen. We don't need anything else. If you look at Litz's screen, he is buying defensive buffs as well, and that's just sort of like a safer race strat to make it so it's pretty much impossible to die on some of the later bosses.
Nice.
Let's station.
So normally you would go to Resistance Camp after this, but Mytherium is actually going to the Desert Camp.
So yeah, he's gonna pick something additional up, and depending on how he does it, he might save some time or might lose a lot of time.
Why did you ask Pascal about A2?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here.
Also, you can see Littz fail the mum skip, so he got this little dialogue, cutscene, dialogue,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's not very long, but
It's not very long, but
It's
it loses time, and that's what the weird high, long, whatever jump that Mytherium did before.
so it looks like Mytherium was actually able to get
Yes,
the
I think.
Emerald shop.
Well, he still has to make it back to the transporter without the dialogue, I think.
Operator 60 to 2B.
Ooh,
Ooh.
I think that's slow. I'm not sure. We will see it.
The monitoring
So anyway, you'll notice he got a taunt +3 chip.
to use a position. Please
So
investigate
normally
as soon as
your taunt will
Normally, when you taunt an enemy, the enemy deals 50% more damage and receives 50% more damage.
yeah.
With taunt +3, the enemy deals and receives 280% more damage.
So it's very significant, and it will also make it
Yes.
interesting because then now there's a very real possibility that he'll actually die.
So yeah, it makes him deal insane amounts of damage, but it also makes him take insane amounts of damage.
Mytherium does run very hard, so he's very knowledgeable about the attack
So-
patterns.
Yes, he runs very hard, and he has a lot of he uses a lot of attack from that. In here, on very hard, you can, for example, use taunt +3 without any without problem, because if the enemies kill you in one hit either way, if they're
Yeah.
taunted or not, or how strongly they're taunted. So when with using taunt chips, he deals more damage, but he still takes the same amount of damage, which isn't a
and-
good thing, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, at least doesn't matter in very hard.
It's only extra damage, so
Mytherium having some trouble getting down doing this kind of flooded city void out. Looks like he was a bit too much to the left the first few times, but
too much to the right.
he gets it finally.
Too much to the left, and he might have softlocked himself.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure where how far the void spawn, the void out zones are in that area, but there is a lot of places in flooded city where you can softlock. There's like
Interesting.
drown zones that respawn you inside the drown zones. So as soon as you respawn, you instantly drown again, and it makes you unable to do anything, pull up any menu, and the only thing that you can do is close the game.
Wow. I think that's just one of those skips that like I've never really had a problem with. So luckily, I haven't. I've never had to encounter that. I think like a lot of people have. There's some skips that are like incredibly hard for them, and some that they just somehow get pretty easily. So now that Mytherium is on Grund, there's really nothing super interesting going on. If you need a time to take a break, now is it.
Yeah. Or use the time to watch Litz's side of the screen. Litz is now heading into the A2 fight. It's a hard fight. And it's definitely more interesting to watch than Grun.
For sure. Did you happen to see what chips Littz got?
No, I didn't see that.
I missed it as well.
Yeah.
We're currently resisting with all remaining support fighters, but we can't hold them off for long. I repeat, this is Carrier Blue Ridge 2. We need immediate backup.
Wow.
Available android forces.
Yes, Ram, there is a frame window to open this after drowning, but that does not apply if you respawn inside the drown zone. Apparently, Littz has two crit plus 2 chips, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, he had a very good A2 fight. He had a lot of crits there.
Yes, I think that's a total of 8% crit chance.
Yeah, that's very good.
At least I never managed to pull up a menu there. Because the drown zone I'm talking about, it's literally you. The respawn animation where 2B hangs down from the pod happens inside the drown zone. It's weird.
That sounds incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
Also, Mytherium is sort of on this mini-boss, the Goliath Flyer. Pretty simple boss, you just buff up. You use 2 pod programs, you just sort of spam heavies until your pod programs are back, and then you use 2 more.
Didn't I kill that already? What on? If it's that big, we should be able to see it.
Okay, Phil just wrote in chat, crits are 500% damage, so that's insane, and that's why we do want a lot of crits. So
Yeah, absolutely. Incredibly powerful. In conjunction with damage glitch, which already does, what, like 500%?
Yes, so basically we're doing... So on the final fights, a crit should be something in the thousands. I think it's something about 1,000 or 2,000 damage.
Especially on Mytherium's run with the taunt +3, it's gonna be pretty crazy.
Oh yeah. So you do want to watch those damage numbers on the final boss at Mytherium streams. They are gonna be insane.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the taunting has any significance in the entire grunt section here.
No. I don't. You can, as far as I know, you cannot taunt from inside the flag unit.
Enemy data obtained from command.
Go ahead.
The only known record of this machine life form is a lone sighting 320 years ago. Upon reaching
And then on Litz's screen here, you saw him sort of clip out of bounds just to get to the teleporter without voiding out. He just clip back and bounce, got the cutscene, and just progress there normally.
The more easy strats. I do that too. It does lose too much time compared to the version that Fullest did, but it's a million times easier.
For sure. This what we call fidget spinner is incredibly tough to deal with sometimes. If you don't take him out right away, you're just at the mercy of luck.
That fidget spinner is actually one of the places where I love to have the Virtus Contract level 3. Because
absolutely.
In my last run, I could just kill that thing without it even moving, and it felt good because that thing trolls you so hard usually.
Yeah. So Mytherium, I believe, is on the first core here. There are 4 nodes that you have to destroy, and then one big one in the middle. The first core requires 2 pod programs in order to destroy, but the last 2 only take 1.
Yes.
Which is a little odd. That the first one's stronger than the last 2, but that's just how it is.
I think it's has a little bit more HP, but well, we also do get another level up, but I think it actually does more have a HP, and I think that's because for the first core fight you have 9S as a partner that also deals damage, and on the other 2 you don't have because of story reasons. So in a casual playthrough, all those 3 cores should have about the same length.
That definitely makes sense.
Yeah. At least that's my theory about it, but like you said, it does make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense because a lot of people don't even use the pod program in the
yes, like the pod programs or like damage buffs in general.
Right.
I mean, did you use any damage buffs in your casual playthrough?
Not very many. I definitely didn't buy any.
I definitely didn't buy any either, and I don't think that I used them at all.
This thing's armor is too thick.
And yeah, that's actually a thing on top of what Fullest posted in chat. The buff items actually give you 100% bonus damage, so that's twice damage from the buffs on top of what Fullest posted.
So Mytherium making quick work of the mortar section. It's not too bad. Once you get the first hit, you can pretty much just spam, and you'll get the other 2 without much issue. Yeah, we're basically just waiting out dialogue here. Littz has started on the Goliath flyer, so we'll see if he manages to pull it off correctly. So you got your 2 pod programs, and then he's just gonna spam heavy attacks until the cooldown.
Yes. You don't even need heavy attacks there. You can do light attacks too, because I think you need 2 prop programs anyways, but
yeah,
they are enough anyways. So
I like the heavy attacks just because you can back off and you take out a bit more of those projectiles.
Well, the light attacks, due to them being faster, are actually pretty efficient at taking out the bullets. So that's why I go with them, but it doesn't really matter too much. So now we have both of them at the Groom, and yeah, that's really a down point in the race.
But coming up on the second core here, the rotation of the nodes is pretty fast, so you need to have good timing in order to destroy 2 before it rotates. And sometimes you can sort of get trolled, and it'll do the rotation where you'll kill 2, and then it'll rotate so that the
rotate
last
by
two are not
by
targetable.
180 degree
Yeah.
angle. Yeah, that loses some time, but you can use your second pod C with the missiles to make it a bit less of a time loss than it normally is.
I wonder if Mytherium's going to try to despawn the flyers. He did that last race. See, let's it again. Yeah, it is possible to despawn a bunch of the flyers in this section coming up here.
Yes, you can despawn some of them, which makes you lose a lot of experience, not save any time, and if you're unlucky, lose like 4 minutes. I think Mytherium had once in the race. So yeah, better not mess too much with that.
Mytherium choosing to show off the missiles for a while.
Yeah.
Not a super efficient, not a super efficient pod in shmups.
Yeah, not super efficient, but in this fight, efficiency doesn't matter at all because it's all on a timer. Surprise! I actually, in my last race, I got bored and killed a bunch of the machines with evade.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool looking attacks and like the execution stuff or like whatever that it's just incredibly slow. So good core 3 by Mytherium.
Yes. So Mytherium now is out of Grun. And yeah, he is now on the way to the next section. And he actually got a dialogue skip there. Not sure if he needs that. Probably not.
It's just nice to not have to listen to 6.0
Yes.
for a change. Yeah, it's sort of just your basic void out in order to respawn at a different spot. There's another one.
Yes. There's quite a lot of those in Flooded City that you can do.
And then he's just making his way over to this corner where he's going to do what we call copied city clip, and he's going to try to clip out with a he's going to hold heavy attack, and that it's a really sort of like a thrust attack that gives you a lot of forward velocity, so it makes it a lot easier to clip out of bounds. And then he's just going to plunge down to the elevator.
Littz, in the meantime, arrived at the mortar cannon, so I'd say he's about halfway through Grun. Mytherium got this copied city clip, now is in the elevator. Entering copied city. And the Adam 2 fight.
Nice pod launch out of the elevator there to try to get into the cutscene as soon as possible.
Yes, a minor improvement, but it's always nice to have.
What's with the corpses?
So we mentioned earlier how Adam likes to talk, so luckily in this section we are able to clip out of bounds and go back to the elevator and use that to skip a lot of dialogue here.
Don't disappoint us now, Mytherium.
Nope, first try.
Yes, that's amazing. Though that white box can actually be pretty mean and not let you out of bounds. Like, sometimes it actually is a wall that prevents us from going forward, which what a ridiculous thing to think. A wall that prevents you from going forward.
Definitely considered more of a suggestion in this game.
Yes.
So
you-
Mytherium, yeah.
You saw him waiting there, opening the elevator. He does that because inside the elevator there's a different dialogue trigger. The line that you heard from Pod.
Let us embrace death.
And basically how many of the dialogue skips in this game work is if there's a dialogue running and you trigger a different dialogue, that second dialogue overrides the first dialogue. So he entered that elevator that overrode the dialogue line that Adam was playing.
Got him.
Oh, that's horrible. Yeah,
So-
that's the Taunt +3 chip that you saw in action there.
I love it.
God damn it, I hope you guys cannot hear that outside.
So the bad part about dying on Adam is you go all the way back to here,
Yes.
where you start off right after the grunt
after
fight.
Grun, and that is actually a pretty insane time loss, and that only puts Littz about the last core segment of Grun behind, which still is a good chunk, but it's way less than it was before. And if Mytherium does die once more, then I guess Liz will be ahead.
Yeah, we've still got a lot of bosses left, so
Yes, we have a lot of stuff ahead, a lot of opportunities to die, especially from Mytherium with the insane amount of damage that not only he but also his enemies deal. And yes, so even in a normal setup, there still is a lot of opportunities for Liz to catch up, and the Taunt +3 chip does not make him die less often.
I think having a slightly better copied city the second time.
Yes.
That's a very difficult clip though.
Yes, so there's four really difficult clips in this game. The first one is Bridge Skip that we had way early in the prologue. Second one is Copied City that you saw just now. Third one is Mansplaining right after, but the good thing about Mansplaining is if you don't get it, you only lose up to 40 seconds. Compared to the other ones where every failed attempt is, well, the time lost. And then last is Deep Factory, which you will see later on. So you just saw Mytherium picking up a dead android body there. Do you want to explain the corpse system in the game?
Yeah, the corpse system. There's this feature where you can sort of connect to the network, and then whenever another player dies, you'll just see bodies lying around, and you can either sort of get like some temporary buffs from them, or you can temporarily revive them and have them fight along with you. And you can also leave messages. I've heard people compare it to the sort of Dark Souls Bloodstain system, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes. And if you die, you also leave a corpse yourself in your own game. And so dying in this game is actually designed pretty interesting, because we're playing as androids, and whenever the lore basically is whenever you save, you back up your consciousness later. So whenever you die, your progress isn't lost, but all the stuff that happened since your last backup, all those experiences are lost. So basically whenever you die, you leave a body with all your equipped chips, plug-in chips, and all the experience you gained since the last time you saved. and you get respawned at the last point you saved, or like in this case where you saw right now, at you get respawned at the last major story point.
Yeah,
Because
it's usually not. It's usually not too difficult to get your body back, just to get your chips and
yes.
experience.
So you don't lose progress upon dying, but you have to pick up that body again to regain your experience and the chips. It's kind of an interesting feature.
Yeah. Mytherium is back in Resistance Camp, and he is going to Factory. Normally there is commander dialogue here, but what he did was there is a radius around Anemone that once you sort of leave that circle, the commander will start talking to you. But what he did was he crossed that line while he had the NPC dialogue up, and that just canceled that dialogue. So he was able to check the save point at the Resistance Camp in order to check his mail there in order to start this dialogue with Pascal.
That's what they want. Why don't they move in?
I believe they're working on building a colony of their own.
Just makes it so you don't have to wait for Pascal at the factory. He's already there waiting for you.
Please.
I was actually planning to go speak with them myself, you know. Maybe we can meet up over there?
Sounds good.
Target location data obtained. Marking on map.
So Littz got mansplaining, looks like.
Yep. Yeah, the thing about that clip as well is you do have a good amount of time in order to like line it up properly.
Even you?
If you do it like as fast as possible, you'll have to actually wait a couple seconds in order to get in the elevator.
Yes.
Since there's actually like 3 sets of dialogue, and you want to cancel the last one only, so you're waiting for a specific line of dialogue before walking in the elevator. So you have some leniency to like take your time to set your angle up properly for that clip.
Yes. Mytherium on the other side now is entering the factory.
Having some trouble talking to the robot.
Yeah, and punching Pascal to get his time done. Basically, at this moment, we just need to wait for that stupid machine to reach the elevator door to open it for us, so every runner messes around in that time in a different manner.
Yeah, you
Doing
have
some
plenty
out
of
of
time.
bounds movement like Mytherium does right now. For some other stuff. And as soon as he is at the elevator, when the machine pushes the button, whatever he did in between doesn't matter.
Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't been able to find any way to speed that up, either by getting the machine to move faster or sort of a method to
open the door ourselves.
Yeah, to make him redundant. We haven't been able to find anything, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hello. My name is Pascal. I'm here to discuss the peace treaty.
So I think Mytherium clips out of bounds. I'm pretty sure he does the clip here. Yeah. So he's going to do a heavy hold to clip out of bounds. He's going to void out. That's going to despawn and respawn those Mook robots, and the elevator is just going to open right away.
With all that falling, you get enough distance between you and the room that all the machines despawn. And basically in this room you have to kill a certain amount of robots, and since you despawn them all, they are all gone and the elevator opens immediately.
You do lose some experience for that, but he should be able to make that earlier. Or he should be able to make that up later.
But yeah, if you had a good run, it doesn't really matter. And it saves about 8 seconds compared to an optimal fight. and
Yeah,
even more
he
through it.
did miss the Atom Pit self-destruct, so it'll be interesting to see.
Did miss that one, so it will be kind of interesting to see if he reaches level 19. But on the level 20. But on the other hand, level 19 wouldn't be too much of a damage
Yeah,
loss for
that's
him
true.
since he has taunt +3.
That's true. It shouldn't matter too much.
But you still want level 20. More damage is always good. No matter how much damage you already deal, even more is good.
All right, so we're coming up to the difficult skip in this section. Okay.
And he messed it up.
What you're trying to do there is you're trying to fall all the way to where the doors are that he just got to. You hit that trigger to start that dialogue, and then you void out and you respawn back up out of bounds.
Which makes it possible to skip even more.
Yeah, it lets you skip these crushers coming up, and these crushers will one-shot kill you.
So basically there's a skip from the beginning to the factory right to the very end of the factory, but well, sadly in between there's 2 other triggers that we need to hit. One of them is the 9S room, and the other one is the door he just got. And you can also see this is one section where the minimap actually is pretty useful for skipping over those crushers.
Absolutely.
Crushers are pretty scary because they kill you in one hit no matter what. So if you get crushed by them, you have to redo everything from, I think, 9S room? I'm not sure right now.
It's something like that.
Something like Milk's room or 9S room, something like that.
It's definitely smarter.
It's horrible.
Just
it's horrible.
To take the small time loss and just take the top route. Just go over top of the crushers.
So Littz is now entering the factory, and Mytherium on the other hand is on the final boss of the factory.
So what he did there was do like a lift heavy, jump heavy plunge to get himself sort of stuck on the bridge here, just kind of floating. It's pretty cool. Normally, so she's sort of just invincible, just chasing you around. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, you basically have to run in circles, and that way he just can chill for a minute. So let's see how much of the skips we have in Deep Factory Littz will try to do and will be able to do. And if he's able to pull out the entire Deep Factory skip that Mytherium was not able to do, he will catch up quite a bit, but doing that will be very difficult. Yes, Mytherium now is fighting Soshi.
Oh, bad attack.
Yes,
that's fine though.
Really bad attack. But he finished the fight.
So Littz making his way down to the 9S room. We'll see if he does the clip out or not. And Mytherium is just waiting for the elevator so he can. He's going for a Shabu
clip.
Nice.
And yeah, that's probably the reason why he kept the minimap, or one of the reasons.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Your positioning. It's sort of very tight movement there, so the map helps out a lot in order to angle yourself correctly.
Yes. Yeah. Generally, the map is really useful with angles for clips. In a lot of cases.
Yeah, your camera is obscured or blocked by a wall or something in a lot of situations.
Yeah, especially if you're moving out of bounds.
No thanks. I'm heading back to the resistance camp. What about you?
Liz is doing the
Intended route looks like.
factory,
I see.
the entirely intended route. So
Say again? I'm not receiving.
that's interesting. I think it's about 1.5 minutes slower.
Yeah, so even
Compared
though
to the optimal strats, should be about 1 minute slower compared to what Mytherium was able to pull off.
Why are their numbers increasing like this?
Oh, Littz is fighting the
Via laser relay system.
spider thingies. I don't know what those are. You don't actually have to fight those.
I don't actually remember that that enemy at all, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't get to see them in the speedrun usually. You don't have to fight them, but I didn't know that until recently myself.
Mytherium just making his way to this sort of like side-scrolling section. Nothing much to do here except slow-mo, damage glitch, taunt. It's just a bunch of bipeds, some stubbies, and then there's a one of the big robots at the very end.
Yeah. So maybe I should mention this again. From the timer, Littz is faster, but he is a good amount behind, and Mytherium, to compare the timers, you actually have to subtract about 2 minutes and 20 seconds from Mytherium's timer. That's because he has
one is real time and one is loadless, I believe.
Yes, Litz's timer is a loadless timer, while Mytherium's timer is with loads, and there was a mix-up. So just keep that in mind. Mytherium is the one who is in the lead right now, despite what the timers say.
So Mytherium's going to wait until this sort of electrified water stops. Okay, so now he's going to go in and taunt and do some double damage glitch. He's going to use a lot of slow-mo here just to sort of prevent Bokushi from attacking as much as possible, because he doesn't want to get one shot and die.
Yeah. And he got mines. Mines are horrible. So you don't actually have to wait for the electrified water to go out. You can just go in there and attack him anyways and heal all the damage, thanks to the resilience chip. But I think that's he didn't do that because of his running very hard a lot in the last couple days, and or more than just that. And you cannot do that on very hard; you will instantly die.
I can't tell, since I think the far overlay is he level 18 right now, or is
I think that was 18.
Okay.
They're still
Again, it doesn't matter as much as if you have just normal taunt levels, but it'll make a small
18.
difference. Okay.
Pascal? Come in, Pascal. Shit.
So right now, Mytherium is just making his way over to the barricade by Pascal's village. He just has to take out some robots there, and then he'll be able to fight Core 2, another flying core, and then he'll make his way to Eve.
Damn it. You're here too.
It seems the machines on the network have gone berserk. They sealed off the entrance to the village.
He got
Okay.
level 19 there, but that's not enough to put him at level 20 for the final boss fight. So he will be one level behind from what we normally have in the A ending speedrun, but which is a significant difference. But he does have the Taunt plus 3 ship, which does give him a lot more damage.
So pretty fast core 2. He wasn't able to get the 0 cycle, but I think he only had to do 1 damage glitch to take out the core once it landed, and he was also able to do another one of those partner dialogue skips. And that'll just make him enable him to start the Eep fight a little sooner.
Littz is having some trouble clipping out there, but he got it now. That
Yeah,
clip actually is it is in theory the same one as in the prologue, but it's way more difficult because there are those machines that want to kill themselves. But thanks to the auto lock-on in this game, which is horrible by the way, at least when you're speedrunning, because it messes up your movement. If you're not careful on this time you do that out of bounds clip, you will jump to the lava and that puts you back in bounds and lose time.
So Mytherium right here on Eve, on the second part of Eve, he did a sort of like a phase skip here.
Yes, he got the phase skip.
You just have to keep the HP there. As the HP is regenerating, you have to keep it from filling up.
Yes, so basically
the
throughout
finishes.
Throughout the entire dialogue, he must not reach full HP. If he does reach full HP, you will lose time compared to not doing the skip at all. So you really only should pull that through to the end if you know you get it, because otherwise it takes longer for him to heal up to full health, and if he does reach full health you have to deal more damage.
And Mytherium doing a lot of damage here. He's also maintaining quite a bit of distance, and that's just to avoid those projectiles, because if those hit him, it will do a lot of damage.
Yes, I'm not sure if he is able to survive a bullet. With
I'm not sure either, actually.
Even with buffs, he's not even using defense buffs.
Nope.
So he will definitely not survive a bullet.
Oh no!
And...
Got him.
Oh, there it is. He got hit.
Huge props to Mytherium though for
doing the
Taunt plus 3 route
strats and everything. So he's back at the beginning of phase 3 now.
Yeah, luckily he doesn't have to start from the very beginning. He can start kind of at the halfway point here.
Yes. So I think he just picked up his body. That's a very scary thing about this fight. If you die, because you need to pick up your body, and before picking up your body, you really want to have that, because you don't have resilience without it, which makes dying very much easier. Well, not from Mytherium in this case, because he will die anyways if he gets it, but the problem is if you die without picking up your body, you lose that original body and have to beat Eve without any chips.
Which really, I mean, it just kind of kills your run basically. Most people don't do this taunt plus 3 routing.
Yeah, taunt plus 3 in A ending. Also, usually it's not really saves too much time because of the extra transport, and you get a side quest dialogue call from one of the operators that Mytherium, I think he managed to skip, if I remember correctly. But if you don't get that, you lose a heck lot of time picking up the chip, which negates all the time save you get from having it.
So Mytherium finally taking out the final phase of Eve. Yeah,
Yes,
it is
so
important to maintain quite a bit of distance.
Yes, we're just waiting for him for some dialogue to finish before we have his final time.
So it looks like a 140-25 real time.
Yes, that's 137.48 loadless. It's really a good time, so GG to Mytherium there.
And went for some pretty risky stuff. I think he is with us right now.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Congrats on your...
Not my greatest performance, but given the circumstances...
You made the race quite interesting at some points.
Moose Clip was pretty interesting. You got the first one like really quickly.
Yeah, I managed to get the initial clip very, very quickly, but I wasn't able to follow through with getting the trigger while being on the Moose.
Desert Discovery, yeah.
Oh boy. 2 unfortunate deaths, but
yeah.
Unfortunately, under the nature of Tom +3 with no defensive buffs, every enemy that I came across would one-shot me.
Yeah, is it even worth doing defensive buffs with that? Or does it still one-shot you?
It is. They leave you... It translates pretty well between just regular taunt with no defense buffs and Tom +3 with defense buffs. Those damages that the player receives is very, very similar.
So basically, if you had defense buffs, you probably wouldn't have died on Eve there.
Yeah, for sure.
Might have been able to heal it, but even with the defense buff, it's a 2-hit, especially on level 19.
Yeah.
So it still would have been a very scary fight, even with defense buffs. Even more without the defense buff. So
yeah,
it made
a little bit of do or die instinct on that final fight.
Yeah, I saw. Let's see. You also went for the roller coaster skip as well.
Yeah, I ended up goosing on that.
Yeah,
not too much luck for me.
That clip just seems kind of, I don't know, just difficult, really.
It's all timing based. Like I remember putting in a good number of hours, and I believe Marbles really sort of picked up on what I had taught him in terms of like when exactly to jump and when to pod spin. It's a very tight timing on trying to get 2B at the correct height, so that way she can just either dash through or pod spin through.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of sort of tricks like that. It seems like most of the stuff you have like plenty of time to like position yourself correctly, but then this one you have to, it's like entirely based off of the roller coaster.
It's really a race against time for that one, because trying to get into position quickly and efficiently is rather tough in between attempts.
And you can see Littz is now also on phase 3 of the Eve fight. I really mix up all the names.
Yeah.
All the time.
I do the same.
And Littz is going for missile strats, apparently.
I think he was just trying a double laser there.
No, he's using a lot of missiles here, but he's he's losing lock on apparently for a lot of time. I'm not sure if that's his inputs or the game. But now he's in phase 4 and should be finished himself very soon.
Close range combat no longer operable.
Yeah, then this last phase, all that you have is the pod fire. You've lost all of your other abilities, no melee, no pod program, no evade.
Yes.
And this last phase, he kind of just moves around wherever he wants, so it's all about getting lucky and having him sort of stay close to you.
Yes, so normally that phase is just holding forward, holding pod fire, and spamming heal to heal everything, every damage you get immediately.
Data from the bunker.
But you'll lose you.
And hopefully not die.
Guess so, but we can't.
So Littz is also finished. We're just waiting for his dialogue to finish out.
GG.
Yes,
And that
he's revealed
was almost a PB for Littz, if I'm
That
correct.
was PB.
Yeah,
Augers.
46-second PB.
nice. So, unfortunately, you lost the race, but you did a PB.
Unfortunately.
That's pretty nice.
It was
So
really
that's-
close. I could see.
Yeah, congratulations on PB.
143. Yeah.
I believe
So
those
Mythi-
times are RTA because
Your,
His
Mytherium
is
yours-
loadless.
yours is RTA,
mine came out
Litz's
to
time.
137 loadless, 137.48 loadless.
So, Mytherium's time actually is 2.5 minutes faster than what's shown on stream right now.
Yep. But
So yeah, that's about a 5-minute difference between you guys.
yeah.
I
It was
potentially
pretty.
used too hard.
It was pretty close at some points even. I mean, Mytherium died twice, so
The after the Atom death, and you had to start over from Flooded
Yeah,
City.
that was really heartbreaking.
yeah. I mean, at that point, it was like the last section of Grun, like the last Grun core between you two. And that
Because I
could
think
have-
my finger slipped off of my pod program button, so I just fired off both lasers and
and then he just shot you.
Yeah. So yeah, taunt plus 3 strats, pretty risky.
I do
Very
have to
cool
say,
though.
That A2 fight was a little nuts.
Dude, your A2 fight was crazy. You got so many crits. Like
That was nuts.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And that was the first run where I've had 2 crit plus 2s.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and like clip that out. Because she took a ton of damage in just
Yeah,
like
that was
2
a
seconds.
Yeah. So
Thank you for racing, Littz.
Yeah, thanks for the race. It was a lot of fun. I started off a little shaky, but I kind of panned out towards the end.
I know, likewise. I was really tense at the beginning.
I think at the beginning, at most, I think was like 17 seconds behind my PB. But by Grun, I was 2 minutes ahead.
yeah.
Thank you
So-
for you guys commentating as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know. MT, do you have any questions left for our runners?
Not really. I think
So
I think I'm good.
then I guess we're done with this. Thank you guys for racing and participating in this tournament. Was amazing to watch. Thank you, MT, for commentating this race with me.
Thank you as well.
And yeah, and at this point also, thank you for Canaris and everyone else who organized this tournament. It's been really fun, and especially a huge thank to Speed Gaming for restreaming this. Yeah, I really have fun with this tournament, and I'm really happy it happened. So, thank you all.
I believe the the links in chat are a little bit broken, but in order to check out the rest of the bracket, I believe there's links somewhere. I believe tourney.nierspeedrun.com is...
Yes, that's tourney.nierspeedrunning.com for the bracket. Speedgaming.org/NA for the schedule. And yeah, make sure to follow our runners. We don't have the links sadly in the chat, but you see their names on screen right now, and maybe someone can post the links in chat manually. So they deserve it. Check them out.
Thank you guys.
Thanks
Yep.
a lot.